You're watching NFL Daily live right now on YouTube, Facebook, and Rumble. We are back, and it's all made possible due to our friends over at Manscaped. If you haven't already heard, it is Smooth Sack Summer. So when you're playing in the summer sun, make sure you're scaped from pubes to bum. I absolutely love that line. Just like I love Manscaped's products. 20% off and free shipping on all their top-of-the-line men's grooming products over at manscaped.com/chat. Our first question of the day, as we are back with NFL Daily, first time in a long time. Grade the Deebo Samuel deal. This one went down last evening. 3 years, $71.6 million, a couple extra million up to on that one. That's the extension, the new money value that matters oh so much. Grade it for me. A, B, C, D, or F. I see Barrett's in the live chat typing in his B, or his A+. I said it's Barrett. I got confused. He says A+. Rashard Lee says A. Jonathan Taylor says A. Michael says C. Rashard Lee says A. Corey Child says A. Hunter Coop, no relation to Cooper Kupp, says A. It's all A so far. Zach David says F, which I am surprised by. Lego FBI Man, what a great name, says B+. Shelly says A. Trulor says A. John King says A. The vast majority of these votes are coming in A, and I very much agree. I think Deebo's a special football talent. I would do my absolute darndest to make sure he is on my team. The Niners have done that. And kind of like I thought from the beginning, Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, DK Metcalf, all back with their current teams. Although I thought the same about A.J. Brown. That one didn't go down quite the way. We'll actually talk about A.J. Brown later on in today's show. He's all mad again on social media. Before we get to that, the big news of the day around the NFL is on Deshaun Watson and his 6-game suspension. So we'll do the Goldilocks thing. Too short, too long, or just right on the 6-game suspension. S for short, L for long, R for just right. Get those votes in. It's also, by the way, the pin poll right now on Facebook and on YouTube. Current vote leaders, 58% saying it is too short. An even match, 21% saying too long and just right. I am of the mindset that either you think he did it or he didn't do it. And there's not really any room for in between. So if you think he did it, it's way too short. 6 games is a slap on the wrist from that standpoint. If you think he didn't do it, well then of course it's too long because he should have gotten 0 in the end. So get those votes in for me. I see S from Jeff with a little bit of an F-bomb in there too. It's fun. Michael, Juan Hernandez all saying S. Corey Child says R for just right. Rashard Lee says it was too long. Roger Moore, Michael Thomas Schmitz, great first name, my friend. Nick Fury, 55, also typing in S. Jonathan Taylor, NFL player, Colts running back, says S, too short. Thanks for watching, Jonathan. I'll make sure no one tells on you. Will Dunn says Martavis Bryant was suspended indefinitely for smoking weed. I think the consistency or lack thereof was a big problem in the ruling, or a big reason for the ruling, I should say. John Ruiz says R for just right. Rashard Lee says L. John Ruiz. Ruiz on the other one too there. So either those coming too short, too long, or just right. 55% going too short right now. Pretty even on the too longs and just right from that standpoint. Now, the NFL does have the option, if they so choose, to appeal the Watson ruling. And in kind of classic NFL form, in the event that is appealed, the ruler of said appeal is one Roger Goodell. So, in the end, the NFL, if they wanted to, could impose any discipline they now want on Deshaun Watson. Although, I don't know if they want to overrule the very first ruling from the independently appointed arbitrator, Sue Robinson, the NFL and NFLPA agreed on. That's not good for, I don't know, I won't call it office management, but like workplace environments between the NFL and the NFLPA. That's a little bit of a problem there. So will the NFL appeal and make up their own ruling? Y for yes, N for no. This one a bit more split down the middle here. Juan says yes. Rashard says yes. Jonathan Taylor says no. John Ruiz says yes. Ryan says no. Thomas says no. Matthew says yes. Jonathan Taylor says no. Barrett and John King, all typing in Y for yes. I think no is the route they will end up going on that one in terms of the ruling for Watson. I don't know if they want to go that route, even though, as many of you are pointing out, there are plenty of other examples of lesser cases getting disciplined as much, if not more. I wonder if the NFL is just going to say, you know what, we tried, and they just look the other way, and they try to move on and continue to reap in the money, because let's be honest, we're all still going to watch the product. The funniest story I've seen in a long time, and I couldn't resist bringing it up on today's show, was on Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals. Those of you that don't know, it was revealed that the Cardinals in the contract, the massive extension they gave Kyler Murray, part of the contract included I call it the classroom clause, where he had to spend 4 hours each week studying film, that he couldn't have his laptop or be playing video games at the same time. Now, there was a disaster on social media once that got leaked. Kyler was upset. The Cardinals eventually caved and removed it from their contract. It's a bad look for both sides. We'll break it down more in depth, but who looks worse? KM for Kyler Murray or ARI for the Arizona Cardinals? There's almost no wrong answer. I think I'm going to go with the Cardinals in the end as to who looks worse, but what are we doing here? That's not good. That's not a normal thing to have. It's unprecedented in a contract to say, our franchise quarterback has to watch more film. And you were worried enough about that to put it in the contract, and yet he caved and took it out. I think Arizona looks worse, and that's what the majority of the votes say right now. John Ruiz, Barrett, Jonathan, all typing in Arizona. KMs from Matthew and Lego FBI Man, and Will as well. Thomas, Shelley, Chulor, Rashard, John, Corey, all typing in AR. SM calls him Jakyler Russell, which I find pretty funny. He's been better than Jamarcus Russell. At least he got paid and has done pretty well there. Most of the votes are going Arizona. A couple more KMs, though, from David in D.C., Roger Moore, Gallo Galusian. I'm not sure how to pronounce that one. That's a tricky one. But the KMs definitely have it from that standpoint. We're back on NFL Day for the first time in a long time. The NBA calendar winding down. Now our NFL shows get to take over a little bit more. So do me a favor. Shout out your favorite NFL team in the comments section, and we'll give some shout-outs for that as well. Your favorite team, no surprise here from Nick Fury 55, rocking the Seahawks profile picture. He goes Seahawks. Cowboys from Joey Drada. I can't remember how to pronounce your last name, Joey. I'm sorry about that. Jonathan Taylor says Colts. SM says Rams with the trophy emoji. Respect it there. I see Seahawks, Rams, Packers, Cardinals, Dolphins, Packers, Niners, Cowboys, Patriots, Raiders, Seahawks, Raiders. Delusional Patriots fan says Dolphins. That's pretty weird. Raiders, Seahawks, Cowboys, and Chiefs. Seahawks, Raiders, Eagles, Dolphins, Cowboys, Chiefs, Seattle, Ravens, Bears in there as well. Commanders from Josh Lang, Browns in there, Dolphins from John Ruiz. So keep it coming and shout out your favorite NFL team. And if you're ready for today's show to get going and ready for the NFL season to finally, almost at long last, be here, show it by liking today's video. We are days away from the preseason getting going. The Hall of Fame game. My boy Mitchell Renz will be live for that one on the Raiders Report. Like the video if you are excited, hyped, and enthused about the start of the NFL season finally approaching after it was boring as hell in June and July. There was so little going on. Happy to be back here on NFL Daily. Here's what's coming up on today's live NFL show. You've got latest NFL news and rumors, the Deshaun Watson fallout, some Kyler Murray conversation, surprising Tevin Jenkins trade rumors now out there. We'll also have 2 mailbags. As always, there are 2 ways to get on the show. Number 1 is to use hashtag NFL. Some of you already have. But if you want to jump the line and guarantee you get on today's live show, simply use hashtag or super chat. Super chatting helps you jump the line and skip it to get on the show. So take advantage of that. Hashtag NFL or Super Chat. And, by the way, we've also got some training camp standouts coming up in a little bit on today's show, breaking down one player from each NFL team who has impressed so far at this point. And then exclusively on Rumble for NFL Daily After Hours at the end of today's live show, some superstar trade candidates who could just be dealt before the start of the season. That's all coming up right now here on NFL Daily. You're watching NFL Daily. I am Tom Downey here with all the latest going on around the NFL as training camps are underway. But there was nothing more impactful in terms of the NFL world today than the Deshaun Watson suspension news. The Browns quarterback suspended 6 games by the quote-unquote independent arbitrator Judge Sue Robinson, and that is the current standing for Watson. Now, there's a lot more that could go on here. We'll know in the coming days. The NFL has the option to appeal, but they have not announced plans on if they will do that or not. The NFLPA has said they will not appeal, sue, whatever. They're just going to accept it and try to move on. The NFL, meanwhile, may or may not go that route. As things sit right now, Deshaun Watson will miss these 6 games. At Carolina, potential Baker Mayfield revenge game in Week 1. Week 2 against the Jets. Thursday Night Football, Week 3, home against the Pittsburgh Steelers. On the road, Week 4 against Atlanta. Another team that wanted Deshaun Watson real bad and did not get him. Had a knock on the Browns, but the Falcons would have landed him. Week 5, home against the Chargers. And Week 6, home against the Patriots. Now, the rules are the NFL has 3 days to make their appeal. So we will know whether or not that will happen in a matter of a few days, if it's 6 games or potentially more. And it's emphasis on the potentially more part because NFL discipline's weird, guys. An appeal goes directly to one Roger Goodell, which means the NFL, if they so choose, can simply assign whatever punishment that they want. Although, it would not set a good precedent in the first ruling from the new independent arbitrator to say, you know what, we disagree, we're enacting, judge, jury, executioner stuff, which, after all, was a big reason why they put this new system into place, to avoid a potentially going rogue like they allegedly went with one Zeke Elliott. So will the NFL appeal the Deshaun Watson ruling? Y for yes or N for no? Sound off for me in the comments section. If it is only 6 games or more, I suppose Jacoby Brissett is the next man up at quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. He is the backup for this team, and they're probably not going to look elsewhere. A lot of questions like, keep Baker. They knew they wanted Brissett to be the guy here for the backup role for Deshaun Watson. Now, this is the part that I am blown away by. This is reported by Tom Pelissero this morning and confirmed in the judge's, brief report, whatever we want to call it, on the decision, that Deshaun Watson must get all of his massages from the club massage therapists. He's not allowed to go get them from Instagram, whatever. This is wild to me because what this says is the judge clearly views Deshaun Watson's actions and everything as problematic. Without calling him that in the briefing, she calls him a predator. That's what's going on. That they do not trust him to be allowed to get massages from other people, and he only got 6 games. There's a disconnect there for me. And the way I view it is this. If you think Deshaun Watson did it, then 6 games is way too light of a suspension. If you think he didn't do it, then it's way too long of a suspension. 6 games kind of feels like that's the personal conduct violation, so that's what we're going to stick with. Kind of feels like the middle ground to me. So what do you guys think of the 6-game suspension for Deshaun Watson? S for it's too short, L for it's too long, or R for it's just right. This is the pinned comment on today's show. You know the deal. If the ad break comes on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Let's talk Kyler Murray from one quarterback to the other here. Murray was upset over the leak, the reporting of what I call the classroom clause in his contract. As y'all know, Kyler Murray got the bag from Arizona, but part of that contract at the time was that Murray had to spend 4 hours each week studying film without his laptop or video games being pulled up, and that threw everybody into a stir-fire craziness on Twitter. Like, memes galore. It was hilarious to me. But the Cardinals have since removed the clause for Murray, who, by the way, quick note, is also out at camp due to COVID right now. It's not a good look for either side. But who looks worse, in your opinion? Type in KM for Kyler Murray, or type in ARI for the Arizona Cardinals. Sound off in the comments section. I do think both sides look bad. I do think in the end, the Cardinals felt that they needed that in the contract, that they wanted that. They specifically inserted totally unheard of language into their contract. If they were so concerned about their franchise guy not studying, not doing his job, that they needed a classroom clause that could have given them an out, why did they pay Kyler Murray? Why? That is such an enormous red flag. Do you really want to commit the amount of money you did for a guy that clearly you don't have concerns for? Or you have concerns over? By the way, for Kyler Murray, he's got to play better down the stretch. That's a big problem for him. And it was a big issue for Arizona. The leaks from the own organization about the way he played down the stretch. He plummeted. Started the year so hot, borderline MVP pace, and then the back half of the year, not nearly as good. The level of apparent distrust between Murray and the Cardinals is unheard of for a contract that size. And there is, by the way, some funny, I think it's more correlation than causation, and it's also Cliff Kingsbury's bad in the second half of the year overall for his career, but Murray doesn't play as well after the new COD gets released each year. That's the fantasy numbers out there. Maybe may or may not be the reason why he's not played as well. Now, folks, we're also on Rumble. We have free and uncensored content, including NFL Daily After Hours, a weekly live segment filmed exclusively on Rumble. So give us a follow for free at rumble.com/NFL Daily. That link's in the live comments and in the description as well. Let's talk about A.J. Brown, who was very upset on social media. He sounded off after Deebo Samuel got paid, and A.J. Brown couldn't resist throwing shade towards, apparently, the Titans once again. Here's what A.J. Brown tweeted. Basically, all of us got the same contract, and I'm the only one who got traded. Yeah, keep believing it was me. Anywho, go Birds, #carry on. A.J. Brown sounds like the guy who broke up with his girlfriend. Even though he's engaged to somebody else and happily engaged, allegedly, he can't quite move on properly. He's gone. A.J. trying to throw shade always towards Tennessee and their fans is a little weird to me now at that point. With that said, he is right. The A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, Deebo Samuel, and Terry McLaurin contracts are all pretty much the same. Brown's deal is longer, which means it's a bit more expensive AP or average per year wise, but you're talking no more than $2 million max to min. That's about the average you add for a new year. So A.J. Brown is right that Tennessee was cheap. Also, man, focus on Philly. Move on. Let the past be the past if you need to. So we'll answer another who looks worse question today, which I find fun. Is it A.J. Brown or the Tennessee Titans? Type in AJ for A.J. Brown or TEN for the Tennessee Titans. And we have daily NFL videos for you guys here, and we're ramping up our coverage as the preseason and the games that matter finally approach. So if you haven't already, hit that big red button and subscribe right here on YouTube at youtube.com/chatsportstv. Let's move to Orlando Brown, the Chiefs franchise tag left tackle, has ended his holdout. He's reporting to the KC organization, and he'll be there for camp as that gets ramped up here in a little bit. It was only a matter of time before Brown showed up because, well, simply put, he has no more leverage. There's nothing Brown can do to get paid right now. There's nothing. He is on-the-field play could impact it, but he's a franchise tag player. He's not subject to fines, which is good for him, but he can't actually get paid since the franchise tag deadline has passed. He will command a likely second franchise tag next year and maybe a big-time new deal. That leaves 4 notable players who are still among, as we see from this, the holdouts/hold-ins. Jesse Bates is a holdout, much like Orlando Brown, franchise tagged. He is unhappy with the Bengals. He is not at camp. Because he has not signed his tag, he can actually hold out and avoid a situation where he misses out on getting fined. Derwin James, Deontay Johnson, and Roquan Smith are all present at camp but not participating. The new hold-in, to quote Marshawn Lynch, they're just there so they don't get fined. So of these 4 guys, who is most likely to pay their player next? Now, Jesse Bates is your long shot. He's the franchise tag guy. Can't pay him quite this second, but maybe no deal comes for the other guys. Is it Deontay Johnson and the Steelers? If so, type in PIT. Is it Derwin James and Chargers? If so, type in LAC. I think it's the Bears and Roquan Smith. Type in CHI. Some surprising news earlier today from Ian Rappaport here and Mike Garafolo. The Bears have received calls and have held trade talks centered around offensive tackle Tevin Jenkins, sources tell me Mike Garafolo. The former second pick has drawn interest in his potential, a situation to watch. This is fascinating to me because this is a second-round pick, a top 40 guy, didn't play much last year, was banged up, there are injuries, some alleged maturity concerns. In general, you do not hear about these types of trade calls and talks being leaked unless the team that has the player already wants to move on. 99 times out of 100, it's because the offers aren't what they want. So, I think that means the Bears are done with Tevin Jenkins and a new regime, and they already want to, which is wild to me, given how impactful he is. He's an important part, I thought, of their offense. He's already not a starter on the depth chart. So do not rule out a potential Tevin Jenkins trade. Injury concerns are real, but keep an eye on that one being an actual deal that goes down. One last note before we go. Sportico has named the top 10 most valuable NFL teams. The Broncos just sold for $4.65 million. They are number 10. Eagles at 9. Commanders at 8. That's kind of surprising to me. The Jets at 7. The Bears at 5. The Niners, or the Bears at 6, right in front of me. Niners at 5, Giants at 4, Patriots 3, the Rams, fresh off the title in the new stadium, they're number 2, and the Dallas Cowboys by a big-time margin, $7.64 billion. By the way, if any of those 9 teams were to actually be sold, I think they would sell for a lot more than their current valuation. All right, back into the live chat here. Shout out for me your favorite NFL team as I'll sip some water. I've been hydrating really well lately. I've been very thirsty here. So shout out your favorite team. Roger Moore, good note on Tevin Jenkins. The Bears tried him at left tackle, but he was a right tackle at Oklahoma State. So I think right tackle is where he should be. That's just me. I see Cardinals, Seahawks, Colts, Dolphins, Bears, Cowboys, Rams, Bears, Colts, Bucks, Cowboys, Dolphins, Eagles, Chargers. I think that's a different one there. My bad. Eagles, Cowboys, Niners, Seahawks, Cowboys, and Chiefs. Dolphins, Cowboys, bunch of Raiders in there, some Bucks, Bears in there too. Dolphins, Juan Hernandez, as always, spamming his Raiders. Good job, my friend. I appreciate that. Cowboys from Jameson, more Cowboys from Joey. Titans from Jared. Patriots in there from Shelly. Cardinals from Divine. And, the bench warmers from Alex. Commanders from Van. Appreciate that, Van. Dolphins in there too. Now we're going to move to our mailbag next up here. There are 2 ways for you to get on our mailbag here, my friends. Number 1 is use hashtag NFL. That gets you in the queue, although you are at the mercy of mean old producer Jack picking your question and bringing it up on screen. So he says he's not mean, but he will get mad at you if you spam, so keep that in mind. You can also super chat. Nobody's done so far. First one to super chat is the MVP of today's show. So get those questions in using hashtag NFL or by super chatting in the comments. I see Falcons in there, by the way, as well from ADS. After today's live show totally wraps up, we'll be live only on Rumble. NFL Daily After Hours. We'll look at some big-time superstar trade candidates that we'll keep an eye out for this year before camp begins, or ends, I should say. So get over to Rumble, rumble.com/NFL Daily. The live show link is in the comments, in the description as well. NFL Daily After Hours bonus segment coming up later on in today's show. You're watching NFL Daily. I am Tom Downey, and we're doing a mailbag, answering all of your questions live here on NFL Daily. Back and better than ever as we get closer to the start of the NFL season. First up, from my boy Joey, huge Cowboys fan here. I'm not too upset about Washington getting hurt because I love the way TJ Vasher looks, and he will be in our future. Also, how is Trayvon looking? It's been quiet for me. If you mean Trayvon Diggs, it's good. They don't throw at him that much. I'm not worried about Diggs. Honestly, I'll make note, cornerback-wise, Anthony Brown's been balling for the Cowboys. I am optimistic about TJ Vasher, but I think the receiver depth is still a big-time red flag for the Cowboys. Roger Moore, should the Cowboys pursue Tevin Jenkins for right tackle? I think every NFL team that is not stable with a proven, obvious, long-term answer at right tackle should at least explore what's going on with Tevin Jenkins. Because it is unusual for a top 40 pick to be on the trade block a year later. That almost always means there's something bad going on. But if you're a team like Dallas potentially, or a bunch of other ones, you should explore that and go, okay, what's going on here? So the answer might be medical attitude. He's just not a good player. If that comes back negative, okay. But you owe it to yourself as an organization to at least kick the tires on it as far as I'm concerned. From Juan Hernandez, Deshaun Watson suspended for a whole year, but 6 games is BS. So I think the way the arbitrator and the judge ruled was based on the way that the code of conduct is written, I can only do 6. I can't go beyond that based on previous examples. On one hand, I appreciate the attempt at consistency. On the other hand, is this really the letter of law example to go by? I'm not sure. I think in the end, the NFL was damned if they do, damned if they don't. If they overrule the judge, well, then it's them going rogue, and we don't like when they go rogue, unless when we think they're making the right decision. So there's a lot to unpack there. In the end, it comes down, at least for me, for this. If you think Lamar did it, 6 games is nowhere near enough. If he's innocent, 6 is too many. So if you think Deshaun did it, yeah, 6 games is BS there. From Slippery Sam, when will Lamar get paid? It's a great question on Lamar Jackson. It's weird, right? That Lamar Jackson, he should have gotten paid before Kyler Murray. He's better than Murray. He's more proven than Kyler. And despite that, I think perhaps because of Lamar's own patience to not get a deal done, he's unsigned long term. And when he gets signed, it's going to be for a lot. The quarterback market only goes up. Only goes up. Saw it with Dak Prescott. Saw it with Derek Carr twice now. Seen it with Matthew Stafford. He was once top 5. We've seen it with Russell Wilson. He's due for a new deal. All these quarterbacks, rising salary cap, number keeps skyrocketing. Guaranteed money keeps going way up. I mean, Kyler did not get the Deshaun Watson fully guaranteed deal, but he got a lot of it guaranteed, with or without the weird, class clause. But it is surprising Lamar is unsigned. I think the Ravens want to get it done, and I think they should want to get it done. He's a great quarterback. But what do you think will happen? Will Lamar Jackson sign an extension with the Ravens before week 1 of the NFL season? Make your predictions. Y for yes, N for no. This will be our pinned comment on today's show, so if the ad break comes on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there, type in Y for yes, N for no. From So Nice, NFL team with the most top fantasy players. I think the Bengals stand out. You've got Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon, 3 quality receivers, and a potentially quality tight end, Hayden Hurst. You're looking in particular, I think, at teams with a bunch of good wide receivers, so that does kind of complicate things here in the NFL. But the Bengals jump out to me because you can start Higgins, Boyd, and Chase pretty much every single week. The Bucks are up there. Brady, The running back room might be a bit by committee for me. So in the end, yeah, I'm going to go with the Bengals. Have the most fantasy viable players across all their positions. The other teams like the Eagles, maybe the Raiders, Rams, Bills could push as well, but I think the consistency for Cincinnati wins it for me. From Corey Childs, can the Cowboys trade for Chris Conley? Something I actually mentioned before on our Cowboys show, my friend. I think the unfortunate cancer diagnosis for John Mechie means the Texans are going to hold on to Chris Conley because they're thin. Nico Collins, Brandon Cooks, that's kind of it. Philip Dorsett's been banged up. I think they need Conley more, so I think he's not on the block right now, at least currently for Houston. NFL Daily is also on Rumble. We offer free and uncensored content on that platform. We bring the sports. Other sites bring the news, the politics, if you're brave enough, tech and business. We're trying to grow the platforms that you guys use. So give us a follow, all for free, over on Rumble. It's rumble.com/NFL Daily. From Jared TG, if you had to bet, who would you bet on being the Packers' leading wide receiver this year? I'm going to go receivers only because I think a dark horse is like Aaron Jones or A.J. Dillon or something wild like that. I think it's going to be Alan Lazard. Christian Watson's on the PUP list to begin camp. We'll see on that front, but I think he's going to be an inconsistent player in year one. I don't trust Randall Cobb. Sammy Watkins they posted the highlight of him making a 2-yard catch, and I thought it was a big deal, so that's where he's at right now. I think Lazard is your most likely guy, but I don't love that grouping overall. Jonathan Taylor wants to know if Aaron Donald will retire after this year, what % chance? I don't think so. I think Aaron Donald is going to give it at least another 2-3 years, somewhere in that range. He is getting a little bit up there in age. He's now 31 years old. I think at least 2 more years for Aaron Donald, because the way that deal is structured, it's the 2024 deal. It's kind of like we'll see what happens type of contract. So I think at least 2 more years. I'm saying low chance after this year. From Elijah NFL, with Watson out, does that mean there's a better chance of winning the AFC North this season? I mean, yeah, it helps their chances, but I don't think anyone would really consider the Steelers as among the favorites. Mike Tomlin has always found ways to win football games. He'll probably be around 500, but these are the current odds. I think it's fair. The Ravens and Bengals have better quarterbacks than Pittsburgh does. Both teams were either in the playoffs, the Bengals, or almost in the playoffs last year despite a rash of injuries in Baltimore, and the Browns will get back Deshaun, after 6 games in theory. So, better chance? Yes. Likely? Still no. So, with that in mind, who is your AFC North winner prediction-wise? BAL for the Baltimore Ravens, CLE for the Cleveland Browns, CIN for the Bengals, or PIT for the Pittsburgh Steelers. From Nick Fury, 55, Seahawks trade LJ Collier and a 2023 via the Broncos, I mean first-round pick there, and 2024 first-round pick for Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray and a third-round pick. It's a hell no from Arizona. They just signed Kyler Murray. Let me get the contract details up here to show you how extreme it would be. The Cardinals are not trading Kyler right now. If they wanted to, they would have shipped him off before they signed him. So it's a complete non-starter from that standpoint. From the next standpoint here, if the Cardinals were to trade away Kyler Murray, they would incur right now they would actually save $1 million of salary cap space, but next year they would incur an additional, I'm doing math here, $43 million in salary cap hit. They literally cannot trade him. He is untradeable with the new extension by Arizona. So, the value is way too low. Like, no one wants LJ Collier. 2 firsts, as we saw with the Russell Wilson deal, is probably not enough, and the Cardinals can't trade him at this point. From Barrett B49, what will the Cowboys do at receiver? Let's see what the official news is on Washington. Jones fractures the concern. Probably pretty likely there. Maybe they kick the tires on some guys. It's almost time for the first preseason game, so maybe they just see how the young guys fare. But we knew it was a concern going in. One injury could cause issues. Now they have it. I would hope that they look for help. From Rashard Lee, most underrated NFL quarterbacks. Ooh, this is a good one. I'll go from like the national perspective. I think guys like Matt Ryan are still a little bit underrated. I think Tua is hated on. That may or may not be underrated from that standpoint there. I think Kirk Cousins is a little bit underrated. He's never going to be a true premier quarterback, but he's a good quarterback. And I think when we look back at this next year, we'll say insert young rookie Q or second-year QB was very much underrated. If you have not already, as producer Jack says, it's Mac Jones in my ear. Okay, buddy. If you want more NFL videos every single day, subscribe to us here at Chat Sports. And make sure those notifications are set to all. That way you never miss a single video right here on Chat Sports. From SM, should the Rams sign another wide receiver due to Van Jefferson's injury? I don't know how much they need another one. I think the addition of Allen Robinson was, at least in large part, to help compensate for the Van Jefferson injury. Now, that would give them A-Rob, Cooper Kupp, and Tutu Atwell. I'm curious if the Jacob Harris hype will pick back up like there was last year. I think they would like to sign Odell Beckham as well. You have a third. You have a second pick, though, in Tutu Atwell. You want to play. You can put him on outside slide. He's fast enough there. So I'm open to it. If they do, I think Odell Beckham should be that guy. From Michael, should the Seahawks draft Young or Stroud? That is Bryce Young of Alabama or C.J. Stroud from Ohio State. My answer is yes, they should. It's in terms of which one, also still yes. I wish that Bryce Young had C.J. Stroud's body. Young throws off his back foot a lot. I don't love the footwork, but he consistently makes plays. Like, he's he's a gamer and a baller out there. Stroud's got better size. I think I lead towards Stroud. There are, of course, concerns for both guys. Young is undersized. Stroud has benefited from an elite receiver core around him, and, he didn't hold up very well in the cold against Michigan. I would say if you get one of them, you're in good shape there. From Lucky Falcons fan, more likely to be in their respective Rookie of the Year race, Drake London or Arnold Ebiketie? I think it's pretty clearly London, right? I grabbed the odds, by the way, of the current race, and somehow Kenny Pickett is the leader, which I disagree with. Beyond that, London's your betting favorite. Then Burks, Wilson, Hall, and Watson. There is no obvious rookie QB, since Pickett may or may not and probably won't start Week 1. Because of that, I like London to be a very real front runner for NFL Rookie of the Year. Who do you think will end up winning Offensive Rookie of the Year for the 2022 campaign? Drop that name for me in the comments section right now. Let's talk to Alex Arnold now, a super chat. Top 6 rookie dynasty football players in order. So you know what? I got my list. I already did my draft. I'll read off how I had them ranked in the end, or wherever I put it in there. I like to emphasize running backs in most cases. So Breece Hall, Drake London. Then I think I had Treylon Burks, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, and then Kenneth Walker was my number 6, the Seahawks running back. That's pretty much how it went down off the board. I think I mentioned 6 there. Wilson slid pretty far in my dynasty draft. I was kind of surprised with that one. But I got it Hall, London, Burks, Wilson, Olave, Kenneth Walker as my top 6. The pin poll of the day, the number one question around the NFL world, was the 6-game suspension for Deshaun Watson too short, too long, or just right? Let me know right now in the comments section. I'll sip some water here too as the sex bots are back, Jack. That is, I'll tell you what, they are getting creative. They are getting creative here, more and more. All right, I see S's from John Ruiz. John, you got some good questions in there, but remember, use hashtag NFL, otherwise you're just going to get buried in the end. Rashard's typing B to block the bots. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Ooh, I don't know about that one, Bleacher Report fan. S's from True Allure, Nick Fury, L from FL Underdoggy, B from B to block the bots. Thanks, guys. The pin poll results right now: 60% say too short, 16% say too long, and 24% say just right. So I'm actually, I think, most surprised, Jack, with the change in the too long, just right balance from that standpoint. I kind of thought it would have been far fewer just right, because again, my mindset is either too long or too short. He did it or he didn't do it, and whichever way you feel, you should probably be upset about it from that standpoint. And maybe people who are just maybe the just right people don't care. That's a good point, Jack. I see L's from Rashard Lee and Rogue Goose 1. That's a fun username. Gary Sane, Michael Ayers also saying yes. After today's live show wraps up, we will have for you guys once again NFL Daily After Hours right here on Rumble only. So if you're watching on Rumble right now, what up, guys? Happy to have you here. Stick around for today's live show wraps up. Trade candidates exclusively available on Rumble. So make sure you guys get over there and are hanging out for us as we extend today's live show beyond the upcoming training camp standouts and the final mailbag. Drop the live show on YouTube and on Facebook. You're watching NFL Daily, presented by Manscaped. 20% off and free shipping on all of their men's grooming products just in time for Smooth Sack Summer. I'll tell you all about them and their products on today's show. Remember, 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com/chat. We're doing one camp winner/standout across all the NFL teams so far. We'll break them down, and we'll go quicker since the majority of the answers are they've impressed. We'll discuss the impact and the why. But first, I want you guys to chime in. Two-part question. Shout out your favorite team for me and name a camp standout so far. Do that right now in the comments section. We'll group by division. We begin with a total unknown name. Joshua Bledsoe, the safety for the Patriots. Some injuries right now at the position. And Bledsoe, again, per like all the players' reports out of camp, consistently making plays. I think I speak for most non-Patriots, maybe even some Patriots fans. Not a name they were familiar with. After all, this is a 2021 sixth-round pick out of Missouri. He is flashing, though, right now. It's going to keep an eye out for. The Buffalo Bills, how about receiver Isaiah McKenzie? Much has been made in the past about the impact of Gabe Davis' breakout year. Don't sleep on a McKenzie breakout year. Emmanuel Sanders and Cole Beasley are gone. Consistent drum beats of praise. Always going to keep an eye out for McKenzie. Could be primed for a huge breakout season. Let's go to Breece Hall for the Jets. Thought about putting Zach Wilson, but he's more of a standout with his mom's friends than maybe on the field. But Breece Hall is primed for a big year and to be the lead back in New York. I like Michael Carter, but all the buzz coming out is that Breece Hall is that guy for the Jets. I think he's going to have a huge workload for the Jets this year at the running back position. The Dolphins and Jalen Waddle next up here. You'd love it if it were Tua. Not quite the case there yet. But Waddle and Tyreek Hill form a dynamic and explosive duo at receiver, and Waddle's picked up where he left off last year. Get him the ball, and good things happen. Now, speaking of Tua and the Dolphins, I couldn't resist asking a big-time question. Is Tua the guy at quarterback for the Miami Dolphins? Why for yes and for no? If the ad break happens to come here on YouTube, it's perfect timing. Head down there and type in your Y for yes or your N for no. Defense now, Davion Taylor, the Eagles linebacker. This would be a huge deal for Philadelphia. They don't have a lot of truly proven linebackers beyond Kaiser White, hoping for Nakobe Dean. Taylor's got great athletic traits. If he can emerge, that's a huge positive sign for Philadelphia. Anthony Brown, the Cowboys corner, is next up here. He's been awesome at camp for Dallas, and head coach Mike McCarthy is heaping the praise on him. Quote, he's having a heck of a camp. Frankly, I'll be honest with you, he's picked up right where he left off last year. I think he is someone that should get more love from you guys, meaning media. That's just a suggestion. He's very, very consistent. Well, Mike, if you say so. I will make note, by the way, right now, the vast majority of these players are non-trench guys since the pads only just went on Monday for the majority of NFL teams. Kendall Fuller, how about this? Back-to-back corners, and apparently Carson Wentz has had some interception issues, but Fuller has led a very impressive secondary so far in camp for the Commanders. A dynamic duo of Fuller and Jackson would be a big deal for a Commanders defense that needs to bounce back and might be without Chase Young to begin 2022. Speaking of Carson Wentz, more quarterback questions here. What's your confidence level in Carson Wentz? Be honest with me. Scale it for me, 1 to 100. 1 being he is a bum, he's terrible. You'd rather have that random English guy as your quarterback. 100 being he's the best quarterback ever. He's going to make all the haters look dumb. Scale it for me right now in the comments section. Kadarius Toney. This would also be huge news for the Giants after a bit of an up and down first year, some issues off the field. Toney and Wan'Dale Robinson drawing praise out of Jets camp, and I trust the new coaching staff for New York a lot more in terms of getting the most out of Toney. He was awesome against the Cowboys up until he punched DeMonte Casey in the face and got ejected. 10 catches, 189 yards. Problem is, the rest of the year, nothing. He didn't do anything. His yards per catch plummeted. He was an inconsistent piece. So hopefully Toney can get on in the right headspace. He's talented. I've always been worried more about the off the field, the focus, the injuries than the actual on-field talent. But so far, off to a great start in year 2. Now, if you want to have a great summer this year, it is, after all, smooth sack summer here at thanks to Manscaped. Use their top-of-the-line men's groom products. These are the leaders in below-the-belt grooming, and they want to make sure you have a ball this summer. Get it? Manscaped.com/chat, 20% off and free shipping when you head over and use that URL. Use the Lawnmower 4.0. Nobody, and I mean nobody, wants to have a bunch of unkempt hair and bush down there. It's just a bad time for all involved. So if you're not using Manscaped's products, maybe that's why you're not succeeding in the same way Zach Wilson is off the field. Manscaped.com/chat. Links in the comments section and in the description of today's show. You got to use their products. By the way, the boxers, these are the most comfortable boxers known to man. Check them out today at manscaped.com/chat. Our first offensive lineman, Jackson Carman, after being overweight last year, sounds like all things are going well for the Bengals' assumed starter at left guard. This would be huge. The Bengals are beginning to overhaul their offensive line. They've kept Jonah Williams at left tackle. Carman should be the left guard. They signed Ted Karras, Alex Kappa, Lyle Collins on the PUP list. By the way, that's a bit of a red flag, but we're talking positive today. Carman's in shape, drawing praise, working with the starters. That'd be huge for the Bengals and Joe Burrow's health. Rashad Bateman, the Ravens' likely number 1 receiver, is looking like a number 1. Lamar Jackson's drawn praise too. The Ravens are in desperate need of Bateman emerging because that receiving core is unproven and not the most talented group if we're being objective and honest about where things stand across the NFL relative to receiver rooms. I love Bateman coming out of Minnesota. I think this is going to be a massive year 2 breakout for the Ravens wide receiver 1. Let's go to a rookie now. George Pickens apparently is that guy, by the way. He's been impressive so far in terms of making plays, going up and winning above the rim a little bit there. He has benefited from a Chase Claypool injury, from the injuries and the hold-in of Deontay Johnson. Pickens looks good, and that's a great sign for a team that historically has done quite well drafting wide receivers early on. How about defense? Grant Delpit, the Browns safety. Injuries have always been a problem for Delpit in the past, and him breaking out would be a big deal for the Browns defense. When healthy, and we got to go back to like his second to last year at LSU, frankly, he's been impressive. He was a dynamic player at LSU, after his round 1 pick, fell to round 2, injuries, regression, all part of that. Hasn't been that guy yet, but he's off to a strong start in training camp. Now, we're not done covering the NFL. So make sure you hit that big red button and subscribe right here at Chat Sports. Whether it's news, rumors, camp, trade, preseason, draft, free agency, we are here all year long. Turn those noties on so you don't ever miss a video here at Chat Sports. The Darnell Mooney hype train continues along. Find someone who loves you like Bears Now host Harrison Graham loves Darnell Mooney. I have not told his wife how he feels yet, but I think we're getting close to that point here. Jokes aside, Mooney's been very impressive, and he's got to be wide receiver one for a Bears team that has some question marks at the wide receiver room. Let's go to Romeo Doubs, the Packers wide receiver. Maybe not the name you thought you'd see, but Christian Watson is on the PUP list, and Doubs is taking advantage of his elite name and the open reps with Watson missing some time. The Packers do not have a good wide receiver room. They don't. Allen Lazard is not really a one. Randall Cobb's a shell of his former self. So is Sammy Watkins. There is a ton of unknown from that perspective. Doubs does fit, the fourth-round rookie, by the way, out of Nevada, does fit what Aaron Rodgers tends to like. Do not sleep on him this year. All right, Andrew Booth is next up. The Vikings number 2 draft pick, potentially young, number 1 corner, maybe. Booth has been a big-time trash talker, and he's mostly backed it up in camp. Had a pick against Kirk Cousins / Justin Jefferson. Has been beat a few times by Jefferson, but that's also to be expected because it's Justin Jefferson. What are you going to do? But he's been impressive so far. Tough to earn a starting spot right away, but is on a very good path. Of all the names on this list, this one might be the most important for the player and the team involved. That is Jeff Okudah, the Lions' former first-round pick. Number 3 overall. Injuries have been bad. The play, when he's been healthy, has been a disaster. He has not remotely lived up to the hype. That needs to change this year. And so far, Okudah is off to a good start entering year 3 with the Lions. Barely played at all last year. Really struggled in year 1. We can blame confidence. We can blame injuries. But Okudah needs to emerge this year for the Detroit Lions. I want you guys now to shout out your favorite player in the NFL. This is not, biggest camp guy, but just who your favorite player is. Drop that name for me in the comments section. Treylon Burks is next up here, the receiver for Tennessee. This is a big deal because he was not a standout at OTAs and minicamp. He was, when you listen to, out of shape. He was at asthma issues, weight issues, conditioning, whatever it was. He wasn't even that active. Now he is, and he's balling, consistently making plays, not missing reps. Good step forward for Treylon Burks. Paris Campbell, who has had some hype in the past, a former, second-round pick by Indianapolis, has had apparently good chemistry with Matt Ryan. If the Colts can get him going at slot receiver, that's a big step forward for the offense. Derek Stingley is next up here, the Texans corner. He's not having practice every day. They're bringing him along slowly, but when he's been out there, plays an INT already at camp, and even got some punt return reps, which I find so interesting. Now, Stingley, Burks are rookies this year. Who do you think will be the best rookie in the NFL this year? Drop a name for me in the comments section. Travis Etienne is not technically a rookie, but might as well be. Missed all of last year due to injury. Now he's healthy. He is primed to be the lead back for the Jacksonville Jags with his old quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, and with James Robinson banged up, he's been impressing. With a hopefully competent offensive coaching staff, the ETN hype is very real right now. How about a receiver for the Bucs? Russell Gage has looked awesome. Julio Jones has signed, but Gage is the favorite to be wide receiver 3 for Tampa. He signed with from the Falcons this year. The Bucs are high on him. Don't sleep on Gage this year. Another, maybe the biggest name on this list from a name brand standpoint is Michael Thomas, because he's healthy now. He's back at camp. After barely playing the past 2 years, Michael Thomas is out there running routes and looks good. A huge addition to the Saints offense, or return, I should say. A surprise name here, Elijah Wilkinson. He's on this list because he's beating out Jalen Mayfield. which, by the way, is a huge yikes if Mayfield can't win the job over Elijah Wilkinson. But that's where we're at in the early stages right now of camp. I did this for you, Matt Corral, Golden Corral truthers. Matt Corral checks in here as the Panthers camp standout. Has apparently been one of, if not the first person to camp every single day. He's going about things the right way. And both Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold early on, some up and downs at this point. And I don't think Matt Corral is really going to win the job in Carolina. But if the veterans don't play well, maybe Carolina gives them a shot early. So pick a quarterback for me in Carolina. BM for Baker Mayfield, SD for Sam Darnold, MC for Matt Corral. Pick a quarterback right now in the comments section. Let's move to the AFC West now, our last 8 teams. Sky Moore, who I loved him at Western Michigan. I think he is going to thrive in the Chiefs' offense. I think he's going to be a fantastic football player. Great start to camp. You lose Tyreek Hill. Sky Moore is not Tyreek Hill. He's not. But he's going to be a good football player, I believe. Another guard, surprise name here, Lester Cotton, who is pushing very hard and a bit of a surprise emergence to be the right guard starter for Las Vegas. It's awesome for Cotton. Maybe a red flag for Vegas if it's not going to be outdoor if he's your right tackle. But Cotton has drawn a lot of praise from the coaching staff and in particular from quarterback Derek Carr. Justin Simmons looks almost better this year, which is kind of crazy in camp. He's already one of the best young safeties, playing great so far. The leader of that defense with Von Miller gone, off to an elite start at camp. Lesser name, Mark Webb. Derwin James is holding in, and the youngster Mark Webb is taking advantage, making some notable plays early on in camp. The Chargers drafted J.T. Woods in the 3rd round. Webb was a 7th-round pick last year out of Georgia. He's the one making splash plays early on. The AFC West is loaded. Who comes in last? Tricky question, I think. Type in LV for the Las Vegas Raiders, KC for the Chiefs, DEN for the Denver Broncos, or type in LAC for the LA Chargers. Final 4 teams. Rashad Penny over in Seattle. If he can stay healthy, he's so dynamic, but the if is a big part there. Penny banged up, not consistent, wasn't great. His first 32 games. The last 5, you can put that 5 up against almost every single running back in the NFL, and you're not going to find a better grouping. Now, Kenneth Walker's going to push for playing time, but Penny looks great so far. Charvarius Ward looks like a real cornerback 1, we've heard, for the 49ers. That's a big deal for them. They need the help. And Ward, the big-time off-season signing for San Francisco. Isaiah Simmons is now getting used properly. He's playing the star role for Arizona. That's linebacker, safety, edge, nickel, corner. He does all of it for him. Exactly where he should be. Simmons was productive last year. I do not think we've seen the best, though, out of Isaiah Simmons. Allen Robinson is next up here for the LA Rams. The Rams have hyped him and hyped him and hyped him. That's been the big common theme coming out of training camp. Van Jefferson's banged up, but A-Rob might look more like classic A-Rob than the guy we saw last year in Chicago. All right, will you watch the NFL Hall of Fame game? Y for yes, N for no. By the way, why Big Jordan? Hey, man, I put Matt Corral on there. No disrespect. I did it for you because I knew you wanted him, and he's been very good so far in camp. So no disrespect to Golden Corral. He's earned it with that mention there. Y for yes, N for no. We watched the Hall of Fame game. Juan says yes, of course. That's, Raiders. I think Raiders-Jags, right? Hall of Fame game? Pretty sure. Let me double check that. It is that. Cool. I was right. I'm not stupid. I'm going to watch the Raiders with Mitchell Renz get absolutely hammered for that game. It'll be fun. It's only warm-up games. If you skip it, I get it. You're not going to see many starters, but it is football, and I'm what they call an addict when it comes to the football side. So I will be watching, but we'll see on that front there. So Y for yes, N for no. I see Robert Bruce. Remember, folks, Mailbag time is coming up next here. So there are two ways to get on the show. You can either A, super chat like some of you have so far. Not that many though. Or if you just want to ask your question, make sure you use hashtag NFL in the comments section. That makes life a hell of a lot easier for producer Jack to actually find your question and then bring it up on screen. NFL Daily After Hours, getting going exclusively on Rumble after this mailbag. So make sure you get over there and are on the Rumble side once the mailbag wraps up. Some trade candidates will break down on that side, all coming up in just a little bit. Today's NFL mailbag and Smooth Sack Summer is made possible by Manscaped. 20% off and free shipping on all their top-of-the-line men's grooming products over at manscaped.com/chat. First up from Adam White, what do you think the Bears get for Tevin Jenkins? I think there are major red flags, so maybe at best a late day 2 pick. I think that is the at best, and I think that's probably a bit high, honestly, because I come back to this point. You don't see these players get linked in trades in the reports of, oh, there's interest, unless there's not that much interest, and you have to wait. So I think day 3 might be more likely. The Bears are selling at a low point right now with Tevin Jenkins. So if they do trade him, I would set your expectations fairly low in terms of the return. Maybe a 4th-round pick is what you end up getting from that standpoint. All right, SM. Hot take, Matt Ryan will play worse than Carson Wentz did last year. Carson Wentz's numbers weren't that bad, but when you really dug into it, it was rough. I think it is a hot take, but if Matt Ryan is regressing only moving forward, it is possible. All right, Drew Lore, should the Niners trade Jimmy G? Yes, they should. It's a matter of can they trade him. $25 million is a bit of an issue at this point in terms of his base salary due. The market dried up. He got the surgery, which was really weird. I think they want to, but unless there's a quarterback injury, might be a little bit trickier than we all thought at the beginning of the offseason. Jamison Clegg, will Baker Mayfield have a comeback season in Carolina? That's the hope, right? For Carolina, at least. He's going to need some adjustment period, having come in kind of late to the offseason in Carolina. I don't believe in Sam Darnold. I don't think Matt Golden Corral is ready yet. So for Matt Rule's job, he needs to. From Seahawks All Day, when and who will sign Odell Beckham? It's a great question. I do think as for the when standpoint, Odell Beckham is going to wait to sign. It makes the most sense for him financially and timing-wise to wait until he's healthy. He's not going to be cleared until September probably more like October, November. So there's no rush. Outside of going back to L.A., there's no rush there. What he could have is wait to sign, and come November, there might be teams that need a receiver, and that could pay him a little bit more, give him more playing time, more targets, more reps, and maximize his long-term earnings. 6 teams, as we sit right now, that have been linked / I think makes sense. The LA Rams, obviously, makes sense. The Baltimore Ravens, because they're a bit thin at receiver. Green Bay had interest last year. Didn't sign him. Maybe should have. The Bears are thin at receiver. The Saints, if only because of the Jarvis Landry LSU connection. And the Tennessee Titans could also make some sense from that standpoint in terms of being a decent option with a bit of uncertainty behind Robert Woods and Treylon Burks. So what do you think? Where will Odell Beckham sign? Is it L.A.? Is it somewhere else? Make your predictions for me right now in the comment section at the pinned comment. If the ad break comes on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. From Nick Fury 55, how can Seattle trade for Jimmy Garoppolo? The tricky part is in-division trade. Money's a bit of a problem as well. I kind of think Seattle doesn't want a proven veteran quarterback. They want to let Drew Lock, Geno Smith compete, and then draft a QB next year. Kind of feels like the vibe I'm getting. So if he gets cut, I have interest. $25 million bucks? You know what? Not so much there. From Footwork Genie 21, Who would you have the boys get at running back if Zeke and Pollard are both somehow gone next year? I'd sign a replacement level veteran, and I would look towards the draft and take somebody in, round 3-ish, somewhere in that range. Like you could sign a Kareem Hunt. Well, that's off-field stuff. A Raheem Mostert. I think Miles Sanders is a free agent. That's the route I would consider going. I wouldn't break the bank on somebody if you're not going to keep Pollard and or Zeke. You could go try to buy low on a Dearness Johnson, on a David Montgomery potentially, even maybe a Darrell Henderson hypothetically. Sign a guy cheap 1-year deal and draft somebody. That's the route I would go if I were Dallas. That's the route I'd go if I had a team in general. I don't want to spend or invest big at the running back position. Today's show is made possible by Manscaped. Smooth Sack Summer is here, and that's right, this summer is to keep your balls cool while still looking hot with Manscaped. 20% off and free shipping on all their men's grooming products at manscaped.com/ that includes the Lawnmower 4.0, the best thing available in men's grooming. Keep your balls nice and smooth. Keep the bush tied down. You'll have some more success off the field this summer. Keep your balls feeling comfort, by the way, with the Boxers 2.0. Manscaped.com/chat. Links in the comments section and in the description of today's show. From Why Big Jordan, why don't non-Panther fans understand we want to win a title too? These veteran QBs ain't it. So I totally get where you're coming from. But there's also this part, that the decision maker of the organization, Matt Rule, is fighting for his job. As weird as this sounds, his number one priority is not to make sure the young quarterback is set up best for 3 years from now, but to keep his job right now. The veteran QBs, if they're not terrible like they were last year, help Matt Rule do that. Most likely Baker Mayfield. So I like drafting Matt Corral. Give him a chance to grow and develop. Be patient. He needs the time, I believe. See if Baker Mayfield's your guy. If Baker's not your guy, Corral's not ready, Matt Rule gets fired, new regime comes in, build around Matt Corral and or a young quarterback if he ends up not being your guy either. So I get where you're coming from, but your head coach is fighting for his life right now. He's got to win games this second, and veteran QBs are easier to do that with than a third-round first-year player. From Jeff Stamps, will the Titans regret not paying A.J. Brown? Maybe. Is Treylon Burks going to be great or not? If Burks is great, it's all fine. But A.J. Brown was an awesome football player. I would have paid him. I guess Tennessee was never open to going that route. So that's a bit of a red flag from that standpoint. For daily videos right here at Chat Sports, make sure you guys are subscribed. Hit that big red button and subscribe. That way you don't miss out on anything here at Chat Sports. From, I'm going to say it as Broncos Country, let's ride. Does the Broncos trade for Roquan Smith since he's holding out? Ooh, sexy, fun name. I doubt that happens. I think the cost is just probably a little bit too high from that standpoint to be able to net Roquan. The Bears are probably going to pay him. He's a young key piece of the defensive standpoint. I wouldn't bank on that front there. So it's fun. Don't get your hopes up, though. Now, similar question as we just had from Broncos Country. Let's ride. Two-part ask. Number one, all in the same comment, by the way. Shout out your favorite team and name a player you want them to trade for. Drop it for me in the comments section. Jameson Clegg, what position will the Cowboys start in the coming draft? Who knows? We're a year away. Could be tight end. Could be running back. Could be offensive line. Could be defensive line. Could be cornerback. Could be, there's a lot of routes they could go, safety included. I'd probably say running back, tight end, O-line are your betting favorites early on. From Roger Moore, is there even a free agent wide receiver worth signing at this point that isn't hurt, of course? That takes out Odell Beckham. I think Will Fuller, who if he's healthy, Emmanuel Sanders, T.Y. Hilton, all guys, Cole Beasley even are worth exploring. But remember, it is August. Set your expectations correctly. From Robert Bruce, hello, Jack, my Patriot brother. Jack's never above praise or whatever you want to call it. Hello, Tom. You think Bill will open up the offense a bit with Devontae Parker now in the fold and let Mac air it out? Some buzz, that might be the plan. I like to see him do it. Mac Jones throws a good deep ball. At least he did at Alabama. Parker brings them some nice size on the outside. They've got some speed already. I am very curious how the Patriots offense looks with Bill Belichick / Wonder Boy Matt Patricia and Joe Judge running the offense. It's weird going on over there, so we'll see what happens. From Iki Leaky, that's a fun name. What is going on with J.C. Tretter? I don't know. I've actually got two theories. Number one, he is the NFL union head for the players. NFL teams don't like that. He's being blackballed. That's my conspiracy theory. The medical theory is that his knees are messed up and he wants too much guaranteed money to go along with the medical side, and teams are not that intrigued at that cost. With that said, some teams that I think could make some sense. The Bucs just lost Ryan Jensen for at least a pretty good amount of time, and it also feels worth mentioning that although they have a young player behind him in Robert Hainsey, it's J.C. Tretter. He's really good at football, right? The Raiders, if you don't trust Dylan Parham to play center or Andre James, go get him. My boy Will Scott desperately wants the Miami Dolphins to go get him. I know Vikings fans want J.C. Tretter. I get that. The 49ers could make some sense with Alex Mack. And even Seattle, if you want a more proven option, I think that could make some sense for Seattle as well. So, prediction time. Will J.C. Tretter play this year? Type in Y for yes or N for no. Get those predictions in for me in the comments section. From Nick Fury 55, could Kenneth Walker have an offensive Rookie of the Year season and Kobe Bryant have a defensive Rookie of the Year season? I think Kenneth Walker has a better chance at the award. Walker is going to get some chances. That team wants to run the football. Also could see Breece Hall or someone else win it. From a defensive Rookie of the Year standpoint, Bryant's got to ball out. There's not going to be a lot of hype around him. I know that he's been impressive in camp. I like Kobe Bryant. He's got to put up big numbers because the national hype won't be there at the start. So possible, yes, but getting both guys is very, very rare. The pinned poll question of the day before we wrap up here on Facebook and on YouTube was 6-game suspension for Deshaun Watson. Thoughts? S for too short, L for too long, R for just right. Too short is winning. Shouldn't be a huge surprise there. 60% going that route, 19% typing in too long, and 22% saying it is just right. Keep those votes coming. S, L, or R as I sip some water here. Throat dries up by the end of every live show. Happens every time. It is still mostly S's in the live chat. That feels noteworthy, but it comes down to me of, do you think Deshaun did it? If he did it, it's too short by a lot. If you don't think he did it, well, it's too long. He didn't do anything wrong from that standpoint. So get those votes in, S, L, or R. Remember, folks, we're going to end things here on YouTube and on Facebook. Please join us on NFL Daily After Hours for an exclusive live show only on Rumble. That link is going in the live chat. It's already in the description of today's show. We put in the live chat a bunch, by the way, because I cannot wait to break down some potential star trade candidates around the NFL. I see my guy Bobby Hass over there on Rumble, but everyone else get over there. Rumble.com/NFL Daily. That link's in the live chat. Thank you, executive producer Tyler, for that one. Get over to Rumble. Links in the live chat. Exclusive live show coming up momentarily. All right, the pinned question of the day, right? The 6-game suspension for Deshaun Watson. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you good, Jack. We're going to kill things here on YouTube and on Facebook right now. We'll be live only on Rumble, so get over there right now.